As M23 rebels encircle and seal off Goma in the eastern Congo, South Africa suffers another unnecessary tragedy with the death of 9 soldiers in a far-off war of little to no consequence to South Africa.
Back once again, this is Chris Report, and he assured me that since I'm in town in Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa.
This comes just hours after Rwanda-backed M23 rebels killed Major General Peter Sirimwami, North Kivu's governor, as they advanced towards Goma. Sirimwami was shot by M23 fighters when visiting the front line on Thursday. According to United Nations reports, more than 400,000 people have fled their homes since the start of January as M23 advances on the city of Goma. Hemmed in by mountains, crawling with rebels of M23, a Tutsi militant group backed by Rwanda, the South Africans are regularly shelled by precision-guided mortars. With no air defense or ability to warn of incoming artillery fire, casualties have mounted. 7 soldiers have been killed and 33 wounded this year. The base is short of medicine, food, and ammunition. Morale is dismal. This report from The Economist on August 8th, 2024. So what has changed in the ensuing 5 months, South Africa? Well, the African National Congress's National Democratic Revolution, communism, has gathered pace with the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act, now enacted, the 3% black tax proposal, and now expropriation without compensation. While the Cadres send South Africans to their deaths in the Congo, the party has declared war at home on South Africans. And today, this news. In the course of this gallant resistance against M23 rebels, the South African National Defense Force lost 9 members by Friday, 24 January 2025, after 2 days of fierce fighting. 7 of these members were part of the South African contingent deployed in eastern Congo in December 2023 as part of a 16-member regional bloc Sadak mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, SAMIDERS, and 2 members were from MONUSCO, the United Nations mission. Now, the SANDF has not reported on the number of wounded, but analysts believe there are at least 24 soldiers who were wounded as well. So why is South Africa in the Congo? Why is it in Mozambique? The endless stream of nauseating anti-American comments from leftist South African political commentators about how the United States is a neocolonial state and how it extracts wealth and impoverishes Africa is really at odds with the facts, folks. The hundreds of billions of dollars we've poured into Africa have overwhelmingly been for the benefit of Africans, not to mention our peacekeeping efforts and our war against malaria, HIV, and tropical diseases. But we cannot say the same of Africa's indigenous neocolonial power, South Africa. In its brief history and power, the African National Congress has invaded Lesotho twice, Comoros twice, deployed troops to the Central African Republic, Eritrea, Burundi, Mozambique, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's also interjected itself into Cote d'Ivoire, where Mandela's participation was neither wanted or helpful. Not only does South Africa interfere as the continent's neocolonial interloper, it does so ineptly. Under-resourced, poorly equipped, trained, or experienced South African National Defense Force troops in the CAR, Mozambique, and DRC stand in stark contrast to how South Africa interjected itself around the continent under apartheid, where the South African Defense Force successfully fought and won in its actions in Tanzania, Rhodesia, Southwest Africa, and Angola, among other places. Today, we see literally fat cat ANC politicians who would not fit into a uniform, let alone know how to don one or fight for their nation, sending South Africans off to their deaths for, well, for what exactly? National defense? No threat to South Africa. Mutual defense? Questionable. Glory? Fame? Gun barrel diplomacy? Or minerals? Which is it, Cyril? While the ANC signs into law an act that violates the very constitution its soldiers are sworn to uphold, they are underarmed, ill-equipped, or too small and ineffectual to change the course of a 3-decade-old conflict. In January of 2025, South African National Defense Forces are part of a foolish Sadak mission in the DRC, composed of South African, Tanzanian, and Malawian troops. Over a year into its deployment, the projected complement of 4,800 troops has accomplished little, save sending SANDF and MDF soldiers home in body bags. SAMIDERC, the Sadak Mission, first announced its intention to deploy to the DRC in May of 2023 and began deploying troops there a little over a year ago in December of 2023. Was there a compelling reason to send Sadak Mission to war-torn eastern DRC? One distinct advantage and political victory for the DRC's president, Tshisekedi, was that SAMIDERC would have an offensive mandate and actively try to defeat M23. Folks, that's not peacekeeping. That's peacemaking. How did the ANC sell this deployment? Was the focus on armed conflict, offensive operations? Do we even recall? Little tin soldiers in Lutuli House sending South Africans off to the Congo so the ANC bigwigs can get access to minerals? Or what exactly? SEMERDIC has replaced the East African Community Regional Force that was comprised of troops from Kenya, South Sudan, Uganda, and Burundi. Now, that force was exclusively defensive in its mission and had the complicating factor of Rwandan troop involvement. Now, one can see why the DRC was in favor of a Sadak mission, but why are Gaborone and Pretoria so keen on it? Sadak and South Africa both have admitted the estimated cost of the deployment to be $500 million a year, $500 million. South African government officials have emptily attempted to assert that SADC's Mutual Defense Pact obliges SADC to assist a member state when it faces an external military aggression. So other member states are supposed to rush to its defense. That's questionable on its merits. Because if so, where are Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, or any of the other 16 member states that are not present? Only 3 of 13 states have deployed troops, all of whom desperately need money. South Africa's government has already spent $100 million to fund the deployment. Now, that's nearly 2 billion rand. Folks, that buys a lot of farmland, no? So there's no need for expropriation without compensation when you're pissing money down the drain in Kivu. Pretoria's participation has long stoked tension with neighboring Rwanda, a country the ANC has long had antagonistic relations with. The problem is that Kagame will not hesitate to once again invade Kivu if he feels threatened by South African troops. Now, SADC is also not exactly on the side of the angels here. They're cooperating with illegal militia in the DRC. The Wazalendo, which is Swahili for patriots, are also fighting M23. And this puts SEMERDIC in a de facto coalition. Teaming up with militia is seldom a good option. Even worse, with rogue non-state actors, many of whom have been accused of human rights violations and are clearly involved in the illicit economy extracting minerals in the eastern DRC. For its part, the feckless regional bloc SADC has had the following to say. SADC reaffirms its unwavering commitment to continue supporting the DRC in its pursuit of safeguarding its independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, as well as sustainable peace, security, and development. Really? So where were you from 1997 until 2023? Folks, that all sounds lovely, but how exactly are they going to accomplish this? This is a war that has raged since Mobutu lost power nearly 30 years ago. All that people in Eastern Congo know is war, sadly. To this end, the SEMERDIC will remain resolute in supporting efforts aimed at addressing the unstable and deteriorating security and humanitarian situation prevailing in the eastern DRC. Resolute. Well, that'll sure improve things, no? We call upon the international community, including the United Nations, to join us in denouncing these unlawful actions by M23. SADC region reiterates its solidarity with the people of the DRC and commends them for resilience against brutal actions perpetrated by M23 and other armed groups. Well, okay. On behalf of the United States, I denounce M23 and stand in solidarity with the folks in Kivu. Wow, I can already see the M23 rebels surrendering. Ladies and gentlemen, why is South Africa in the Congo? For whom? Who profits? Who benefits? Not South Africa, not South Africans. If anyone profits, it's the Cadres. The question is how? Is it illicitly with minerals? Is it for attention? Why are South Africans being sent to their death in the DRC by the neocolonial power, Africa's sole indigenous neocolonial power in 2025, the African National Congress? What say you, South Africa? Try to defend this deployment.